So your daughter's missing. She's out with friends. The night's gone sideways, but in addition, you found an incredibly detailed mole inside of your organization that protects the national interests. My goodness, it's time for another episode of the 24 podcast reviewing season 1, episode 2, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. here on the 24 podcast. Greetings, everybody. I'm Mike Wilkerson, one of your hosts. Again, joining me, of course, is production designer from 24, Joseph Hodges. Joseph, how are you today?
Good morning. Hello. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad that you're with me again. For those of you that don't know Joseph Hodges, the production designer who essentially touches everything on screen that you see inside of the program. I'm so honored that you can join us for this grand review of something that's now 25 years old, Joseph.
No, it's not. Since we spoke last week, that during the week I should keep a notepad with me because I keep remembering things I haven't heard, thought about for years. Just around those times and what we were doing. So it was it's been an interesting week.
Yeah, you are offering amazing insight into what there's whenever we watch television programming or when we watched television programming, because I mean, let's face it, the landscape of general entertainment has completely changed in the last 25 years. The concept of watching a weekly television program has completely altered. Very often now an entire series is now just dumped inside of one of the online streaming platforms. And so that anticipation factor that 24 provided to an audience is just simply, it's irrevocably evolved into something different. And again, that's why we're going back now 25 years to review something that I not only got a lot of juice out of, but that I was engaged in when it comes to storytelling. Joseph, let's quick jump into the 24 and 60, an ultra quick humorous review of this episode.
24 in 60.
It's the 24 and 60, an ultra quick and humorous review of the worst days of Jack Bauer's life. This time it's season 1, hour 2, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. on the day of the California presidential primary. Let's get to it! Somewhere in the Mojave Desert, a parachute perfectly arrives safe on the ground. Over at CTU, Tony Almeida has pulled up the passenger listing. Time to break down the people inside the listings to see who might have been the hitman aboard. Tony Almeida wants to know what's going on, but Jack isn't sharing. But Nina is. Nina begins spinning a yarn about Mason's efforts, and Tony laps it up. Tony Almeida will have all the information within the hour. Despite what you might think of Nina, Nina knows how to play the game. Back in the desert, a roaring fire has been made, where evidence galore is being burned. A Jeep then pulls into frame and asks,
"Did you get the ID?"
She sure did, and she gets in the Jeep and off they go. As the Jeep's lights trickle out of sight, a motorcycle arrives at the bonfire. With a beeping vice that defines the card that remains behind. Who is this? What happens next? We don't know. But we will as this episode of the hit Fox Show 24 unfolds. Terry and Alan York are still on the hunt and eventually find their way to, you guessed it, the furniture store. They walk inside the door that's been left open, okay, and they find nothing. Except, of course, a wide open front door and
a condom wrapper.
All right. Yeah. Back in the ever-moving love wagon, it's getting dark and loud. Janet and Kim are now really in deep trouble. Walsh arrives at a parking structure to meet with Scott, the man who has evidence of someone inside the agency who is involved in the potential Palmer hit. He gives Walsh a data card filled with Palmer references. Woohoo! Walsh tells Scott that he's got to stay the course to get the ball rolling, and then he can get out.
Wow!
But you see, Scott's already sent his family away, and he is out, but he'll stay another 24 hours. No, he won't! A series of shots ring out, and Scott is gone! Walsh is now under fire and is fleeing for his life! Walsh calls Jack and shares that Scott is down and that there are 2 shooters chasing him. He then gives Jack the address and requests immediate extraction. The phone goes dead as Walsh continues his evasion techniques. Jack's now in his SUV and speeds off to Walsh. He calls Terry to find out more about what's going on with Kim. Terry needs him to go over there, but right now, he can't. Bad things are happening. Jack will call her back as soon as he can. Back at the very loud love wagon, Rick shares that there's some stuff that they've got to do. You see, Rick and main man Dan are... Wait a minute. Janet is choking.
Yeah!
The van swerves to and fro. Back at the Palmer Hotel room, they're getting news of the plane crash. And hey, Palmer's kids still aren't home from getting pizza yet. Sherry and David Palmer have a very short heart-to-heart conversation on the couch to quell some of the stress that came from the Kingsley call, but something still remains. Out in the desert, the Jeep arrives at a cool but dark bungalow, and we meet a man named Gaines. Gaines welcomes Mandy and offers her a giant briefcase of cash. He wants to know where the ID card. She continues to count the money. And Gaines offers her more work, but Mandy is not interested. And don't worry, soon the ID card will arriveth. Yeehaw! Jack arrives at the address that Walsh gave him, and Nina's been able to give him the entry code instantly to the door. The door opens. Jack's in. Lo and behold, Tony Almeida is listening to the transcript of everything that Jack and Nina are saying. Inside the structure, Jack is clearing corridors and stairwells on his way to rescue Walsh. Finally, he finds Walsh, who is able to share scant details about the conspiracy that's afoot inside of CTU. Over at the desert bungalow, Mandy's taking a break. What's this? It's Martin the photographer back from the dead? No, it's not. It's a plastic surgery rendition of Martin the photographer with blonde hair. Amazing. A dead ringer for the dead photographer. It's the perfect way to make their way to Palmer to secure his demise. Nina and Tony Almeida are wondering where Jack is. Well, Tony Almeida is. But Nina lays down the law. Tony's glad to take orders here in the CTU walls. But when it's time for the sugar walls, he's in charge. Over inside the structure, Jack and Walsh are slowly making their way down the staircases, and he realizes that Walsh has been shot. Bad. They try to use a tie as a tourniquet, and Walsh starts to realize that the end is far too close. Walsh apologizes to Jack, but Jack assures him that they're going to make their way to the car. Time to go! As they plunge into the darkness of the crossway. Suppressed shots ring out. Jack takes down one of the assailants. Pew pew! Jack and Walsh are finally able to take down the other one, and it's time to get an ID on the bad guy. Woohoo! Jack Bauer heads bad guy word, grabs a pocket knife and a handkerchief, and secures a new rule of thumb. Knuckles and all. Back at the desert bungalow, a familiar motorcycle arrives. It's Mandy's female accomplice, and also, she doesn't have the ID card? Oh, wait a minute, she doesn't have it either? You see, there's a new player in town, and she's the only one that knows where the ID cards. Now they'll have to bend to her will to get it. Right. Terry calls CTU looking for Jack, and needs the name and number of the furniture store owner. Super important, and a necessary piece of intel, well, for Terry and Alan to continue their mission. They get it. Awesome. Over at the Palmer hotel room, the children arrive after pizza safe. Son and daughter arrive back, and the daughter heads to bed. The son begins sharing details of their evening, but there's another call for David Palmer. It's a male voice, someone that David Palmer has to talk to right now, but not over the phone. They have to talk in person. Terry and Alan York are now cleaning up the mess inside the furniture store. Okay, whatever. We learn that Alan has been separated from his wife for 10 years, and hey, Nina's got the contact information for Mr. Norris Stay, the furniture store owner. Super cool and expedient. She calls and leaves a message for him to call her immediately. Back inside the Palmer hotel room, hey, it's Aaron Pierce, everyone's favorite Secret Service agent from the hit Fox show 24. He needs to speak to Palmer, but David's missing. He's left, and no one knows where he's at. Agent Aaron then shares that an added layer of security will be added and that there will be an attempt on David Palmer's life today. Down in the hotel parking garage, David Palmer saunters into an SUV, brings the engine to life, and roars into the dark morning. Meanwhile, across town, inside the structure, Jack and Walsh are almost out, but then another several suppressed gunshots crack the night's silence, and down goes Walsh. He's mortally wounded, and he promises that he'll not only get Jack out of this, but he also gives Jack a data card. You know, the one that Scott gave him. He's got to get it back to Jamie at CTU, who can then match this card to the mole inside of CTU. It's their only hope. Jack nabs the card, makes a valiant dash to his SUV, and with the Sean Callery soundtrack swelling boldly underneath him, he zings between cars, headed back to his next series of obstacles back at CTU. On his way to CTU, Jack Bauer calls JD and tells her that he needs a cleanup crew to head to the address that he was just at, and that he's got a card that needs to be read by her, and her only. Hey, cool! He's going to send it to her via the super kick-ass system built into the dashboard of the SUV? Kick-ass! Super cool and expedient. Jamie's got the data, and she's on it. Back inside the loud, proud love wagon, it arrives at their destination. Kim still won't capitulate, but she will if they start hurting Janet. They demand that she call her mom and tell her that she'll be fine and that she'll be home, I don't know, in a couple hours. Kim finally does it reluctantly and shares the message that
everything is okay, and she'll be back in a couple of hours.
but also that
I love you.
a sentiment that Terry identifies as an alien message that's never been shared from Kim's lips. That means that things are definitively not okay. Back at CTU, Jamie's worked her magic and has a match. After securing the data port inside of Jack's SUV, she sends an eyes-only dedicated message to Jack's eyes only. The owner of the registered terminal and source for Walsh's information, and thereby likely the mole inside of CTU is Nina Myers? A rifle shot rings out. It's target practice time in the desert as the newly minted blonded Martin the photographer begins honing his craft to complete his attempt on the life of presidential candidate David Palmer. And the boop, beep continues. You just listened to another episode of the 24 in 60, an ultra quick and humorous review of each episode of the Hit Fox Show 24. This is a companion podcast of the ongoing episode reviews via the 24 podcast. In that podcast, you experience production designer Joseph Hodges and OG podcaster Mike Wilkerson as they detail the worst days of Jack Bauer's life.
It's all happening in real time.
It's happening now, and it's all available at 24podcast.com. Come and watch and listen at 24podcast.com. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Filming in the desert. My goodness, what was this like, Joseph?
That is one of those Hollywood locations. So that's Vasquez
really?
Rocks, where
Okay.
Kirk ran around chasing aliens and that sort of thing. So it's one of those areas that we visited quite often, not just on this show, on other shows. But yeah, Vasquez Rocks, it's I don't know, I guess it's because it's easy. I'm not sure. I think it's part of the national parks. I'm not sure if anybody particularly owns it, just the Los Angeles. So yeah, so that was the desert. So yeah, we had the parachute landing, and then we also shot out there. Or is that the next episode where they pick up the beeping, the tracker? That's the next one.
Yeah,
right?
That's this one. That's this one, actually. Yeah.
That is this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So
That's okay.
yeah. So because I remember building, because again we didn't have much money, but we needed a landmark, and so I built sort of the bottom of a radio tower.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it. I don't think we needed something. But when you watch the episode, I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember seeing much of it. But anyway, I built this radio tower, and then we also shot where Gaines is. That's this episode, right? With Gaines.
It is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
I love his little lair. Was that just a luck find, or did you plan on, or did you actually craft that area?
No, you see, so all of that, because of the shooting schedule and because you don't want to work nights, although we were, this episode is set between 1 and 2, whenever I could. And again, this is the first episode I've ever shot with them. So there's a corrugate. It's an old abandoned building. It's a single story building from what I remember, but I clad it in those corrugated metal sheets so that we could shoot during the day and not have to not see out the window or not get any daylight through it.
Oh, nice.
So we shot there during the day, and of course with corrugated panels, that set got pretty hot. I mean, it was hot out there anyway. But yeah, I think that was that was right at the beginning where we were going to have an air conditioning unit wherever we went. I think it was one of the lessons we first learned.
During the filming of this show, I mean, obviously, because it's 24 episodes and at least half of it is, quote, taking place during the evening, did you find yourself making places like this that you could shoot whether it was day or night? Was that a feature or something that,
Yeah, I mean, I remember having discussions with people going, this is a great location and we're shooting here and we're going to have to shoot it at night because, it's just a great location, and it works for this. You know, if like this set, obviously, and again, it was after my first episode, so I had no input, if you see what I mean, from you know, I've just arrived. So we're all finding our feet. So but yeah, if I could save, if we could, I mean, I would turn up to locations and go, we're not going to be able to shoot here because by 9 o'clock the sun's over here, and the you know, it would be fighting the sun all day. So I think, you know, later on there is and I think in this first season we go to some garage repair shop, I think. If it goes to anyway, and I remember we shot that, we chose that because we could close it up. Anyway, locations are chosen because of the time of day we are going to shoot, for sure.
And again, what I love about this is that the lighting that was chosen inside of all of these scenes that were shot in the desert outside at night, essentially by just firelight, it allows you to focus on the characters and the storytelling rather than the grand vista of where the thing is being shot. Now, that's not to poo-poo shooting on grand vistas, but what it does is it allows you to focus on the characters. In particular, a lot of this is again, that something we talked about inside the first episode review was the brilliance of silence, you know, and just seeing something.
Well, that was
the context.
Yeah, we had touched on that last week about how Stephen had shot this. Long lenses, far away long lenses, or really close and tight, and the boxes. So, excuse me, the beautiful establishing shots that most people do in movies or in television, where you have your looking up at a building and you know you're at CTU or whatever, that doesn't work in 24. So we never had, and so that's why some of the sets, or my choice throughout, and again, this was my first episode, so I'm not learning this yet, but because of the book, you needed to establish something strong, like bright color, something strong. That's why the stripes on walls. So when you cut to Kiefer, you know exactly where he is, or whatever character, you know exactly where they are. So and again, this was Rodney's first episode because he didn't like the pilot either. Peter Levy, I think. Yeah, Levy was his name. He did the pilot with Stephen, and then again was really mainly had done movies. So Rodney took over, and I think before that he had done the Pretender series, which again was funny.
And I like.
Sure. Go on.
I really like the Pretender series. The Pretender series was another one that completely outside the box. It got a little tongue in cheek towards the end, but that concept and that actor is electric.
Right. See, then there's a good example of what less is more. So I used to really enjoy Pretender at the beginning, where you couldn't see the set. It was dark, it was moody. You had no sense of where the set began or where it finished. Now, here's the funny thing. I'm not sure when Rodney took over, but suddenly it got all bright and it was too well lit for me. You could see the ceiling and you could see that. So I don't know if that was one of his choices or the show's choice, but I remember it you know, had one season it started and it had a completely different look. But on this, yeah, there were occasions that Rodney and I clashed heads with the look of something, but mainly because that's right. Yeah, that's interesting because then I started learning to build my lights into the sets, so I could control the lighting, sort of thing. It got to the point where in the seasons 5 or 6, I remember building yet another table with the lights built into the table. Because they were always putting a bounce card underneath and then whatever. But again, I had taken care of it. It was funny because later on in season 4, somebody went, "Oh, not another fucking table with lights built in." It was like, but if I don't, you're gonna. I think it was the guys that had to put the bulbs in it or something, because again, they had to. Then all the guys that weren't now putting white card down or something. I don't know. But it seemed a bit weird. But yeah, Yeah, again, like so this is right at the beginning. So I'm learning as I'm going. I mean, right now, while we're shooting this episode, CTU's obviously been built, the new CTU. And what else did we put? Oh, the hotel room. That's all new. That was all built for this set.
I remember you mentioning that when we talked about the number inside of the last episode.
The front door, yeah. So
Yeah,
so in this episode you'll see the front door, because the other one I don't think you see the door of the hotel room. But this one, when the red-haired gentleman, the Secret Service, he's just the only character that lasted all 8 years, wasn't he?
It's Aaron, yeah.
Aaron.
Aaron. What a tremendous actor and an impact inside of this entire series. Again, whenever you find the little dangling bits that really impact you inside of storytelling, those are the fun ones. Where if I'd have told you that the very first Secret Service agent that you meet inside the series not only becomes somebody endearing, but you don't end up either instantly killing them off just for pathos. Or just they kind of disappear, or maybe they got too big for their monetary britches. I love it when that happens, and it doesn't happen very often.
No, and that was the thing with 24. What was it? There was a TV show before Western where they would kill a star. I mean, he would appear in it was only a 5-episode or 6-episode. What was it? But anyway, it was like a mini series, and somebody would arrive, and you think, "Oh man, that's such and such," and the next scene he'd get shot and
dead.
And so we started doing that on 24, and most of it, sometimes it was just because that's how it was written. Sometimes it was because that actor or whatever we didn't like, or whoever didn't like anymore, well, they weren't very good in that episode, and they replaced him. I mean, we shot an episode once that I remember. It was the beginning of the season. I can't remember season 3, that we shot with an actor all morning, and it wasn't going to work. So, and it was a big name.
Yeah. This essentially gets back down to the concept of chemistry sets inside of not only a television stage, but like just entertainment in general. Anybody that's ever been in a play, what can happen when you've got, wow, this is really great. All the pistons are firing inside the engine. What the hell is that person doing?
Right. Yeah, there was one time, I know I'm digressing, but there was one episode, many years later, there was an actor who was on 6 Feet Under, the wife's boyfriend or something, and he was very gay. And I was like, he arrived on set as the head terrorist. When we were at, John Cassar was shooting it, and I was like, oh my God, that's such and such from 6 Feet Under. And John looked at me funny. He goes, "Oh, you recognize?" I says, "Yes, he's playing such and such." So John said yes, and I was like, "Oh wow, must be really good because he's really gay on 6 Feet Under." And John went, "Yeah, I know, and he's really gay here too." And I said, "Didn't you cast? Didn't you audition?" And he goes, "No, he wouldn't. Just they looked like the look, and they cast him." I said, "No one watched 6 Feet Under." And I guess not, but yeah, it was quite funny.
That reminds me now, was just watching some behind the scenes of Titanic, and some stuff that's just now been unearthed. And my wife and I have an affinity for the Titanic film, just because I love it, not only because it's a Cameron property, but because it's I think what a lot of people miss out about James Cameron's products / stuff that he puts out is that there's always a love story inside of his stuff. Even inside of something like Aliens, you've got that love story that just accidentally happens between Ripley and Newt, between Ripley and her daughter. That's a piece that was essentially cut out because of the length of the film. But every single movie James Cameron puts out, there's a love story. And where I'm going in regard to Titanic is the chemistry set, but then also the audition process for, say, Jack. You would be surprised how many people were either put in place to audition for Jack, or the sample is Leonardo DiCaprio originally didn't want to read for Jack.
Right.
Like, oh, wait a minute, do I have to read? And James Cameron looks at him and says, "Well, yeah, This is why I don't read. He says, okay, well, great. Have a nice day, and starts to shake his hand. And
Right.
of course, isn't it great that turned out differently?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The Hulu feed that looks like it was shot through a potato. Joseph, you and I are talking about grand lighting schemes and making sure things are picture perfect when you're able to see them. The problem is that Hulu/Disney Plus, the feed that you're latching onto via the streaming services is just absolute. It's terrible.
Right.
It is beyond terrible. I'll have some screenshots of this over at 24podcast.com, but then also inside of the Facebook presence, which we're growing again, that it is terrible, the difference between what you're getting inside of not even just the DVD presentation or the Blu-ray presentation versus what you can get inside the streaming sets. And again, for those of you that have forgotten what 24 looks like, or if you've never seen what it looked like, this is a dark series. And I'm not talking about dark stories. There's some dark storytelling elements inside of this too. But I'm talking like it's just a darkly shot program. Tell us more about that, Joseph.
I think that's just again choice from the beginning. It was mysterious, dark. Less is more. I always found.
Totally agree.
And I like I said, Peter Levy had set up the look from in the pilot, and it was just carried on. It was. I don't know. I mean, it's funny you should say that because again, this week it was like one of those moments that it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. My daughter's started to wants to watch movies with us. So my wife had suggested Jurassic Park, and I was like, oh, isn't that? She's only 8. It's fine. It'll be fine. But when we started looking for it, she went. I was looking on Netflix. She said, no, not Netflix. Let's see if it's on Amazon. It'll be a better quality. And it was like, so even my wife is picking up on that stuff that, and I don't watch much stuff on either, but, my wife is picking out. No, don't look for it on Amazon. So she'd obviously experienced the bad quality of some of the Netflix stuff. But yeah, no, I'm lucky that I have these DVDs.
What we're also going to include inside the show notes, as well as the description here in the video presentation, is a link over to the Blu-ray set. And if you have the opportunity, guys, I encourage you to go and get that Blu-ray set, not just because you're going to get what is easily a far superior viewing experience, but you're also going to be helping out the program a little bit with the affiliate code. So make sure you click on that link, go and buy that, and watch this show as it was originally intended to be shown, versus looking through the lens of a potato. I mean, it is terrible. The contrast, the pixelation that occurs because much of this is so dark. All of that is lost inside of the presentation that's inside of just about every streaming presentation that I've seen. A little bit of insight too, Joseph. The very, I think it was the beginning of season 3. I had gotten my very first stupid expensive television. I got a plasma screen, and watching 24 on plasma was a joy, because back then a plasma television was a big deal, and it was a grand viewing experience because you were literally getting whatever flavor you guys had started putting into the program. It instantly spilled out as you were watching it. And man, just again, great work to you and your team.
I was just going to write 2 things down before I forgot them, but I've already forgotten. Hang on, the lighting. I was thinking lighting. I remember Rodney fighting. It may have been at the end of the 12th episode or the following season. But I remember when it started, obviously Fox were pushing to go digital. And Rodney was, no, we're shooting on film. And I think we were the last. I mean, eventually he got in with the Canon people, and they gave him stuff. And I don't know. I know he was using the small, when the first Canon Mark I, I guess, came out, and you started shooting. When we're talking about, no one was shooting. It wasn't available digital. So so Rodney started messing around with that. What was the other thing I was thinking about, the lightning with Fox? No, that was so he fought to keep it on film for a long time, and I can't remember when we changed, if we ever did change. But that's why I think, especially on the like, I was surprised last week when I said that the DVD was in letterbox, because I remember watching the pilot on 4:3. There was no way that so I don't know how that happened, but I know that it was fought for a long time about the.
Yeah, it's also funny that you mentioned four. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned 4:3, mostly because with the most recent Star Trek offering that I shudder to call it a Star Trek offering. I've been going back to watch some of the very classic Star Trek, either the Next Generation or even the original program, Deep Space Nine, even into Voyager, and watching some of those 4:3s is very interesting, because I think all of us have now just been watching stuff either in letterbox or just widescreen now, so that when you go back and you look at what is essentially a square picture, it's a very different presentation. It allows widescreen instantly provides you with a different palette for storytelling, especially visual storytelling, and it really is something different.
And that's what I again, with my autistic mind, I can't understand why people shoot phones like, up portrait. I can't do, why aren't you shooting it like this? It's amazing.
You and I. Yeah, you and I are in the absolute same boat, where I love to see things that are essentially a horizontal set. What's really funny too, the shorts that we're collecting for these, they're actually captured so that they will appear inside of a standard phone set in the vertical or the portrait. And it's one of those things where you're gonna kowtow a little bit, because you want to try and pick up on what is being offered. There's actually a couple of shorts that you'll actually see the difference, where several of them are very much smaller, because if somebody's looking at in portrait orientation, and both of us are, as we're being depicted here inside of the video presentation, well, it's going to be much smaller. Where inside of the when it's depicted in the portrait, it's giving a much larger photograph imagery of you and I, one above, one below, and then some details with some text that's being spilled over it. So I get the purpose and I get the function, but you and I are in exactly the same boat, where when I have my opportunity, I'm always looking at my phone where it's horizontal versus vertical.
Right. I mean, that's the amazing thing about the phone. We're lucky that the phone is that, that format.
Yeah.
That's the only good thing about the phone is that format.
The Counter-Terrorist Unit, CTU Los Angeles. And so here we see it for the very first time. And again, it's one of those spilling moments where the chemistry set begins to showcase itself wonderfully, where you're seeing bits and pieces of the characters. You don't know who any of them are. They're either intently focused on work, or what I love, especially in regard to Tony, what you'll see is essentially if I'm Tony, what you'll see is the camera will pan to him, and all you'll have is just something like this. And it's magical. It instantly, it makes you curious. It allows you to wonder, what's that guy doing? Wait a minute, who is that? And I love that inside of storytelling, because it makes your brain dance. And again, I don't see a lot of that being done inside of modern day television.
Yeah, no, and also there was the RADs, or the second, it was laid out. I think there's a behind the scenes thing where, with John Cassara and I, when it was the new CTU years later, and where is that person going? We just saw you work from there. You needed purpose. We always gave people purpose, not just, one of my pet peeves on The West Wing, because the set had a corridor that was a square. They used to do these long shots, steady cam, that it would precede them as they walked and talked, but you'd go left and left and left, and they'd end up where they first started. And I was like, Oh, that drives me crazy. Spielberg once, I think, because John interviewed for something, he met Spielberg once, and Spielberg said what he loved about 24 is that you always knew where you were, and and you were never taken like that. You don't go round a block to end up just to do a walk and talk because it's dynamic. It's just a bit weird. To me, anyway, because
the concepts of establishing shots, not only inside of 24 in general, but the establishing shots of when you're seeing any one of the different characters, especially inside of this season where we've got someone like Palmer, we've got Sherry, we've got everything that's happening with their storytelling. I love it when you can plant a flag and everybody knows exactly where you are and what's about to come. I dig that. It's an on-ramp to storytelling. Nina decides to encourage Jack to tell the truth. And again, what's happening inside of this episode is you're getting kind of some payoff from Nina, someone that Jack's been talking to now for on and off an hour, and now we're actually meeting her. And again, in these tiny little sprinkles of detail and conversation, you instantly already know much of what's going on inside of the Nina-Jack relationship without being told anything.
Right.
It's a magical relationship that is so rare, mostly because, especially nowadays inside of storytelling, what we're getting is there's a very dominant female narrative storytelling element that almost overpowers everything that's being shared inside the storytelling, where inside of this, it's not that it's equal, it's just that it's a story being told without any overarching blunt trauma to the head. You will listen to my message.
Yeah.
That I miss. I miss everything that I see inside of the tennis match banter that you see inside of this scene in particular, inside of this episode. It's magical.
Yeah, and again, I think it's because it was writing for the characters, not for any statement or trying to,
an agenda or a plan or
agenda. And Leslie
is filled across an audience, and all I want is engaging storytelling that wraps me into the story, that I can cast aside everything else and I can just pay attention to that. And again, that's I'm gonna beat people over the head with that. That's my agenda inside of this here, is that I want people to understand that it was a completely different level and an avenue of storytelling back then than what you're getting nowadays.
Yeah. And she was amazing. With her and Jack always. And then, of course, then later on, what she becomes is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Super amazing. Yeah.
Tony
proves his worth. This is something else that's missing inside of modern day storytelling, where there's always got to be some sort of grand, long gauntlet about people showcasing their skill sets because people need their skill sets. One of the things that this program and many of the other ones that I really appreciate, it's where everybody benefits from people that understand that life is essentially a giant Swiss Army knife. And while, Joseph, you might be the toothpick inside of the Swiss Army knife, and you provide everything that a toothpick can do, there's going to be somebody else that's the corkscrew. And then there's going to be somebody else that is the flathead screwdriver. And then there's somebody that is the knife. And that concept, especially in regard to really good, solid storytelling, that grabs somebody's attention span and keeps it for a period of time, it is so rare nowadays.
Yeah.
Where it's perfectly showcased here with Tony, where Tony is given a task and he instantly jumps to the task and gets it done and then waits for the next thing. I love that inside of this episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I ever quite understood what it meant to open up a socket.
There's a whole bunch of really great detailed vocabulary and phraseology that comes out of this show too. And it's, open up a back channel. Love that.
And it was always like, but it's that that's the fun, that's the television stuff that was always fun. It was like on Star Trek, when I was doing Star Trek, the space, Rick Steinbeck would the writers would call him about something, and it always started with, well, that's because of time continuum or blah, I don't know, whatever. But there were certain words that would be kept throwing up when they weren't sure how to solve. Oh, just open up another socket.
Yeah, that's right. I know what we need to do, Joseph. We need to have a techie on Pulse appear.
Right.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, for those that aren't familiar with any of my background, I am a huge Star Trek fan. I ran one of the largest organized Star Trek fan clubs in St. Louis, Missouri, in the States. And it was such a grand time because you could bury yourself inside of what was, I think, still some of the grandest storytelling that even was able to get in elements of what would have been considered an agenda back then. But rather than telling you what to think, it would allow you to just know the options, like in a buffet. And then it would allow you to sample what you wanted and then make your own damn mind up. Yeah. And again, I so miss those times, and I hope that there's a time in the future that we are able to get back to that, because it is a superior way to take in content, because now you make the choice. It's very much like a grand pick your own adventure novel,
right? Where
while you're getting a story, you still can have some of your own thought to think this way or that way. And especially Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was able to offer us so much in the way of everything is not black and white. And well, wait a minute, did you also think about I love that element of Deep Space Nine, and it's still my very favorite Star Trek offering.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did the pilot, and then I think the first 7 or 8 episodes of Deep Space, and yeah, I know, I remember. Yeah, no, there was some amazing episodes. I remember that episode with Dax where she her symbiont needed to be put into another body, and it was put into a male's body, and she has an affair. Oh, with Crusher. But then at the end, because she was put back into the female body, it didn't happen or something. And I remember thinking, no, that would have been the way to go. That carry on the relationship. Anyway, I'm digressing again. But yeah, Deep Space.
It's okay. Deep Space Nine is another one where if I just had infinite time to just sit down and chat, man, again, after the most recent offering that's still being called Star Trek, going back and looking at what was, just to give some contrast to what true, engaging, make you think storytelling looks like, Deep Space Nine is just way on top of the charts in regard to giving you some really meaty content that matters. I love that show. They just left the furniture store open? Okay, so I mean, like, this is where, just about everything inside of 24, I understand that we have to take what is a reasonably considerably large disbelief pill. But that there's this store is open in the middle of the night also makes me wonder, like, I guess there's no roving police patrols that would just see activity going on inside the...
But Dan works there. Dan worked there and has the keys. But he was hey, dude, it's 1 a.m., dude. What are we doing here? Well, he's partying, so he's brought the girls there.
Right,
isn't it? Right. Yeah, so he doesn't even bother lock up, I guess.
Yeah, well, and again, not only does he not lock up, but I guess just all the lights are left on. And this is, the reason I mention this is Terry and Mr. York are able to just walk in.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, is that I guess we got to get in the van and we got places to go. And so they just forgot to lock the place up and shut the lights off or anything. Again, you take it in because of the pace, and what I always have said since time immemorial, pace will trump everything, right. Regardless of how big the disbelief pill has to be. If you can utilize pace inside of the storytelling, you can pave over a huge assortment of speed bumps in regard to storytelling with pace. And this show is a perfect example of that.
I think he was going to jack that job in anyway, because he was making so much money off the kidnapping.
Oh, well said. He probably wasn't thinking that far ahead. Yeah. Well said. 2 tracking devices. How were they made, Joseph?
I just probably did a little sketch and went, as long as it's got a big beeping red light on it, it tells the story. I mean, that's all
Yeah.
it is. I'd say taking
Yeah.
all that stuff that I've learned in the past, like from Neurodiversity. People ask me about, when we did have a nuclear bomb, what kind of research did you do? And it's like, no, I remember from being a kid, whether it's Thunderbirds or whatever, if I see something with some chrome balls in it and lots of wiring, I'm thinking, oh, that looks deadly. So it's got a beeping, just as long as it's got a big flashing light on it.
This gets back to the concept of form and function fostering the storytelling instead of it working the reciprocal. Because again, I think you see a lot of that nowadays, where while we want things to spill into reality, it's far more interesting when the thing can look and do the function that it needs to do inside of the storytelling. It instantly pays off.
Yeah. All that stuff. And then later on, when I get into the computer graphics, maps and things, you'll see, I like to think that they were very clear. I mean, I know when Olivier and I started working together, there was quite a lot of tension between us, because he wanted to do his thing and I wanted him to do my thing. And he wasn't used to being dictated to like that. And after a while, he understood what I was trying to get across, and we became very good friends. But I remember there was a lot of resistance. I said, no, I want it like this. You got to think outside the box. Oh, but we need to do that. No. And his stuff was amazing as well. I mean, his skills allowed me to do what we did. I mean, he most of his, it was amazing stuff.
And what was Olivier doing on the show? I'm not familiar with that name.
Oh, sorry. Olivier was the gentleman that created the graphics on whether it was a map on the CTU screen, or he would have created that graphic if it was on a, I don't know, on a tablet. Because a lot of that stuff then wasn't, you couldn't put a photograph on a phone. You had to wire it up to a video player and play a videotape. So that's how the video department became part of the they then had to hire a graphics person, which I then insisted on overseeing. That's where it was. It was like, yeah, but you're not art department. We're not art department. I was like, no, but I'm the production designer and I design everything, So it's one of those things that other people don't get. Other production designers, I guess they hadn't got involved with that. But we've discussed, I'm a production designer and I tend to get involved with everything. I'm the production. I designed the production.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it also showcases the value and importance of chemistry set, right? Where even if you got the sandpaper moments at the beginning, there's a grand understanding that while you may not be getting what you want, there is, again, that whenever the elements will align and you'll find something that works, or you're able to latch onto the things that somebody else is able to give you, and vice versa. I love it when things like that happen, especially when you're involved in something as ornate as a television program. Because again, for those that are curious, generating content nowadays is something completely different than making a television series. Joseph, how many people were involved in the production in general of this television series? Do you know?
Well, on just the shooting side, just the shooting crew, there were at least 50 people, 60 people a day. Yeah. And that's not including, so let's say for the pilot, I've got about 30-40 guys in construction. Then wardrobe will have a couple of people, seamstresses, things, in a shop somewhere making stuff. They're not on set. Then you got the writers and all the producers. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, there's a good couple, 150 people involved as the cast and crew, as the crew out in Chatsworth where we are, I would think. And then,
Good.
people at Fox, everyone has their own assistant. I always laughed at the rap parties. There would be hundreds of people that I'd never met. Someone was somebody's assistant to the assistant of the assistant, but they brought, their friends along, but we couldn't bring anybody but our girlfriend or wife or something. But they used to be quite funny. The rap parties.
Kim decides that the truth is a good way to go. Yeah, so now instead of Dad being dead, now he's this all-important super duper CTU agent. Yeah, because that's going to work out real well. That
right.
The spellbindingly naive Kim appears here, and I love it because what it also showcases is a little piece of what is usually base humanity, which is when it all goes out the window, you instantly revert to the things that you think are going to keep you safe, when in reality, in the grander scheme of things, you've just made an incredibly bad mistake. And in this case, it's never been more true.
Yeah. But it wasn't the actress that played Jade so good as well. And the makeup on the arm, and when the arm is, that was all pretty cool. I thought she was quite good. I'm not sure if if she carried on acting, but I don't recognize her now.
I don't either. What we'll do though is that inside the description we'll have a link to all of the casts that were inside of each of the episodes of 24. So we'll be able to find that out pretty easily, I think.
Right. Yeah, because so many people's careers did start on 24. That's quite amazing when you look back, and there's a guy still on Hawaii Five-0 who got his break as an extra, not an extra. Yeah, he had one line or something in the 24s and things. No, anyway, let's go on. Let's move on.
No, that's right. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned Hawaii Five-0. My co-host for the Crisis Cop podcast over at crisiscop.com, he and I just reviewed an episode of Hawaii Five-0, talking about crisis negotiation inside of Hawaii Five-0. We'll have a link to that down in the description as well. And for those of you that are curious about crisis negotiation, my good friend Lieutenant Pat Doring and I, we train crisis negotiators across the globe. Pat is a crisis negotiator of 25 years. I am a professional role player inside of those scenarios, and together now we've trained probably hundreds, if not about 1,000 people across the last 5 years on different crisis negotiator teams across the globe. I'm going to put some details about that inside the description, but then also at the show notes over at 24podcast.com. But again, be sure to check out Lieutenant Pat's program over at crisiscop.com. Using helicopter shots in a time where drone technology was not being used or available. We talked a little bit about this inside of the previous episode where you were going to go get your flying lessons, quote unquote.
Right.
And, that was tremendous. Is that the same situation here? Or did you use something different? They look like helicopter shots inside this episode.
Remind, which ones were they? Where did you see those?
These are just grand swooping shots of what looks like either you or someone else is in a helicopter capturing them. And it's just where there's either a pan over for
following the cars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, here's the story on that one. So the choice of the van, the color of the van, etc., was chosen because there was stock footage from a movie called I think it's the same movie. So the footage of the satellite in space that they used at the beginning or whatever is stock footage or a leftover footage from a movie, and I'm not sure if it was Heat or the one with Sandra Bullock and Network or something. Anyway, there was the net, something like that. So there is again stock footage of this van driving. I don't think we shot any of that stuff. We fitted our van to the stock footage.
Oh wow!
From what I remember, in that was too early for me to be getting airplanes and helicopters to go do that. Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
very interesting. And again, it really does speak to the dictate of we have a problem to solve, and so we solved it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And again, Joseph, this for those of you that are curious, being able to tap somebody like Joseph for a program like this one is magic. Because what we're essentially getting here is we're getting a custom commentary track on something that you can still go and watch right now, just as if you were watching it for the first time. And again, the links to do that are inside the description here, inside of here on the video presentation, but then also over at the show notes over at 24podcast.com. And again, these are those little bits that will eventually appear inside of the Internet Movie Database, where production designer Joseph Hodges said that, and then all of this kick-ass shit that's in here. And so again, I love that.
I'll have to check. I'll look at the credits to see if the Tamburo brothers were involved in this episode, because they were the helicopter pilots, and I'm pretty sure we didn't, or perhaps we did shoot that. I can't remember, because I know then I got very close with the Tamburos. I did do a lot of the shoot, because that's right, because we got the blue CTU helicopter eventually. Yeah. Because it was easy to get from one place to another. And anyway, when we get to those episodes, we've got good stories about that helicopter.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I can't wait. Dark silhouettes meeting in secret for another key card filled with Palmer references. Man, this is great. And again, it's these little tiny snapshots of little tasty snacks of storytelling that allow your brain to start spooling up what is the potential of what is going on here, because it was the dance of having so many different elements going on at the same time, but being able to snap to them because they were so wonderfully showcased to know where you were and how you were progressing in the story. I love this. More importantly, anything that had Palmer references in it instantly snapped me forward, because again, we're talking about a political assassination. And that's the little licks of interest that this program gives you, is something is going on to capture a variety of attention spans, but each of them has their own endearing elements. And I really enjoy that. Jack sets a 1-hour deadline for the Palmer team. This was great, and I think it's probably one of the pieces of magic that we get to see from Jack, I think, throughout the show, except for maybe the last season, where it wasn't nearly as focused on, but where Jack says do X and people do X.
Right.
I love that. Kiefer's presentation and portrayal here, just inside of these are opening salvos inside of 24 for Jack Bauer, but you already know who is not only in charge, but who has the plan, regardless of what has been showcased to the audience at all. You know who it is. It's Jack.
Right. Yeah.
I love it. Walsh and Scott are having a really bad day.
Oh, yeah.
So this is where we get into the parking structure. And again, Joseph, man, this is just, it's electric storytelling, because it's so dark and foreboding, and you're not entirely sure what's around the corner because, hey, man, I can't see what's around the corner. I love that.
This is
I love that
meeting that he wasn't an agent, the other guy.
Yeah, he was a schlep rock inside the organization. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, so I mentioned last week. So I built the elevator doors and the wall there so that they could stop and, the shooting takes place, I guess. And yeah, and one of those great opportunities that I get to go on top of the 76th building to scout up there. And, it's just, the times I got goosebumps again, because but I remember shooting, car chase stuff downtown at 2:00 in the morning. I've got the middle of downtown closed, and it's just me and the stunt crew and a very small crew. And I remember standing there going, this is amazing that a boy from South London is directing second unit on this TV show in the middle of LA, looking up at all these buildings. But yeah,
spectacular.
So
Just
yeah.
really, really spectacular.
Sorry,
How long? That's all right. How long was that shoot to capture that set?
On the roof would have just happened for a few hours that night, and then we would have gone down and done the shooting of Walsh down at the ramp to the parking lot. See, there's a thing that was pretty, I'm not sure if you'd believe it now, but we believed it then, that CTU, you could get the code number for the garage door from CTU. Nina looks it up or something. Somebody looks it up and tells them. Well, I don't. I sort of believed it. Now I don't.
Yeah, isn't that one of the magical pieces of this show? Is that if we need something, hey Nina, I need blah 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 blah. Okay, right. Jack, I'll get right to it. Yeah. Again, you just instantly jump in because she's able to turn her chair 45 degrees and clackety clack on a keyboard. In fact, she's not the only one inside of this series that does things like that. Tony does it. Jamie does it. Edgar does it later inside this series, and it's magic. I love it. It's the guy in the chair concept that is it's not a syndrome. It is a piece of wonderful frosting inside of the storytelling that instantly helps with the disbelief pill swallowing. I love it.
But every time they didn't visit often, but when certain government and officials, like the real CTU people, came, they were very, we would, what you do is, we do much more than that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? You're just skimming the surface of what we do. And I remember when I didn't go, but I think we shot at one season, we had a couple of days shoot in Washington when the show was set in Washington. So we would save up a couple of days. Guys flew to Washington, it was Washington. And they went to the real CTU. And I didn't go, and they all came back. It's amazing. It looks just like your CTU. And I was like, it can't be, because I didn't have any reference. They designed it after our set. They had taken, and I think it was more not our CTU, but the president's bunker, when we had that round table, and then I had placed all the screens around. It was up on a raised platform, and it was anyway. That said, it was sort of, they said the guys, they had turned the screens around so you couldn't see them. But they turned everything off when the 24 guys came. I remember that. They went, it looked just like your set, the layout and everything. But
that's very cool. I love it when real life follows fiction and vice versa. It's become things like that so much now. I think even maybe for those of you that have seen the layout of my studio and everything else, I think that's a natural thing where there's the studio here is filled with screens, and that's not accidental.
Right. No.
It's because I want to be looking at different things or have impact, because the screens, I can put whatever I want to on the screens. And again, it's a, can we do it now? And can we, more importantly, can we do it and be cost effective? And the answer is absolutely nowadays. I was just perusing through how inexpensive large screen televisions have now become, where for $300 we can get into a 70-inch television that I like. If we'd have said something like that 25 years ago, you and I'd look at each other and go, what?
Yeah.
And it is amazing to get into something so massive and so impactful for so little money nowadays.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Choosing ongoing compartmentalism and paneling. This again speaks to that comic book box framing nature of what 24 offered, especially in these first series of seasons. And I love it. It harkens back to the comic book geek in me, but then also just the snapshot of what's going on where, except that the snapshots are now moving. And again, kudos to the powers that be that creatively decided that that would be an impactful element, because it really is. It's impactful. It instantly snaps people into place and allows you to know what's going on inside the entire story in a quick snapshot. A doppelganger and a bathroom. Man, this is great. Again, you've got Martin Asterisk that showcases up inside of this episode. And I love it. It's a piece of the, wow, look at the incredibly engaging spycraft that's so stupid simple.
Right.
I mean, it's stupid simple. I love it.
Which one was now?
This is where the
No.
twin,
Yes, I know where it is. I'm just trying to think
yeah.
of his. I have this image where he was peeling off this nose, and
no, not inside this episode. Not yet.
Not in this episode, right? So, but because I was when I saw it, I was like, now why were we doing the nose? Which one had the force? Anyway, it's yes, you see him. He's got slightly blonde hair, so we know he's not really the Martin we've just blown up.
Not the guy that blew up on a plane. Yeah,
right.
It was great. This entire scene, it gives me a smile watching it, and I'm like, that's how I know I'm engaged. I'm like, okay, now I see where they were going with all of this. I love it. I love it.
Was he eating an apple?
He was eating an apple.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's one of those stories when you see an actor eating something, it's because they're not quite sure what they're doing or whatever. And there was some other actor there. There's a famous story about oranges. I'll try and remember it for next time. Whether it's when you see, I remember we were doing one episode and finally the director went, dude, drop the fucking orange and just do what you anyway. So yes, so you don't need it, mate. Just, it's distracting. You're distracting with sound, eating, crunching. You've got lines.
Oh man, doesn't everybody love listening to people eat?
No. Yeah, no. So that's all I remember about that shoot. Not all I remember, but that's something I do remember going, what's with the apple? He wants the apple. But we're, again, later everyone's then finding their places and then going, yeah, no, there's no apple. Get it.
Jack and Walsh make a break to more calorie greatness. Man, I'm not ashamed to tell you that we're going to be talking about Sean Calorie a lot inside of these reviews. And this is one of the hallmark sets where it all goes sideways. Walsh and Jack are making breaks and doing things and going places. And it's all just wonderfully wrapped in this delicious musical tortilla from Sean Calorie. Just, again, a giant tip of the cap to Sean Calorie.
No, I guess that's you reminded me of that scene. I guess that's when I started painting lines on walls right from the beginning, because when they're coming down the staircase, there's a blue line. Now, I don't know whether there was an original blue line in one somewhere, but it was just blank walls. And also because we never shoot the exit of the stairs, we'll shoot 2 floors, but then be in another part of the state to shoot whatever else. So if I paint a blue line on a wall and then paint a blue line over there, you think you're in the same building. So I think when you're coming down the stairs from Walsh, with Walsh to the parking, or when he gets shot, there is a line on that just reminded me of that. But yeah, the music, sorry, it was Sean, like I said,
I love,
it was like amazing.
Oh, I love that. The concept of transition from space to space, especially knowing that you're going to somewhere completely different. Again, it's a piece of magical storytelling that happens inside of the grates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Are we on a soundstage or are we inside of an actual parking structure? Well, I don't know. You tell me. Right. That's the right answer. That is the right answer. Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody says there wasn't much production design on that show, you go, "Oh, that guy did a bloody good job then." You don't notice. It's like Roger Deakins' lighting. Did you think there were any lighting in Shawshank Redemption? Is there? Of course there is, but you don't notice it.
You don't. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Jack's resolve appeareth, and our new rule of thumb. This is where you, and again, for those of you that have forgotten, we're only inside of episode 2.
Right.
We suddenly discover what Jack's resolve really looks like. And it's stupid simple. It's accomplished with some sound effects and some wonderful acting by Kiefer. That's it.
Right. Are we talking
And,
about the chopping off of the thumb?
We are talking about the chopping off of the thumb. The context, this is something that Joseph and we talked about something else inside of the previous one. Oh, it was when we were alluding to the explosion of the plane. I've always been a fan of letting the viewer or the person taking in the storytelling, let their brain do a lot of the work, especially when it comes to something that might scare you. And I think universally we can say that having a finger chopped off is something that all of us are horrified by. And so again, this scene is a perfect testament to how all of that creative direction and a wonderful actor can pull off something really amazing by doing very little.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I don't remember the rehearsal or whatever, but it's just the way he puts his arm over whatever, and it's all this rather than, I could see most people would have put the hand on the floor and just chopped it. Do you know what I mean?
Or like,
But
getting at a saw on it or whatever. Yeah.
Right, but he had to like grab it, do this, and the camera angle looking at me. Yeah, no, another brilliant. And the first time we really, as you say, establish. Holy fuck! We're going down this road.
Jack's resolve is one of the magic pieces of this program, and I know we're going to get a bunch of people either in the comments or via the contact form. What they're going to say is, so you're just kind of like ultra violent, right, Mike? No, I am not ultra violent, but I want people to understand that when people want things, they're going to get things because there's something more at stake that has to be solved.
Yeah. And
Jack has absolute resolution to get those things, to get the answers to the information that he needs so that he can stair step to the next task that needs to be done. Jack is essentially the ultimate taskmaster inside of a storytelling element. And again, as we start escapading into the future seasons of this program, you're going to see exactly how wide sweeping Jack's resolve is to get answers or need something done, get it done. And I appreciate that in storytelling, mostly because we don't really get that from somewhere else. And especially back then, we didn't get something like that. I think it's what also allured me to the Shield. We talked about the Shield inside the last episode. The Shield, Vic Mackie is another one that I'm endeared to that character because there are problems and he solves them. Now, did Vic Mackie solve problems efficiently? Yes. Did Vic Mackie solve problems and not hurt other people? Absolutely not. Did Vic Mackie eventually suffer for all of his transgressions? No question. And again, it's one of the things that we see inside of really great storytelling is that while you're seeing perhaps bad things being done, even by good people, the good storytelling is going to show you some of the impact and the consequences of actions. And Jack Bauer's life and the worst days of Jack Bauer that you and I are reviewing here inside the 24 podcast is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to you see the resolve, but then eventually you get consequences, whether it's only just punishment or it's something dire inside of Jack's life that is impacted. It's all there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a constant thing over the years, wasn't it? That how far, and there were moments. I remember we did the first episode years later with Sid, my friend, Alexander Siddig. He was playing,
from Deep Space Nine fame,
yeah. And I had got him. I had said, Sid, I read the first episode of that season. There's this guy, he's playing kind of Osama bin Laden thing, and I don't want to mention it because I know we'd had this conversation before. He goes, I don't want to be typecast as a terrorist or something. But then years later, as he's now, he would just be, there was a chance that he might have been nominated for Syriana. And I said, look, there's this character. He goes, I'll come and stay with you for 4 weeks. I said, it's like 4 episodes. He goes, I'll come. So I said to the writers that Sid was interested, and they got him on. And then, of course, so that first scene where him and Jack are actually interrogating somebody, Jack was supposed to take the pen and stab him in the leg. And Kiefer went, no, I don't think Jack would do that, whatever, blah, blah. And Sid was like, give me the pen, I'll do it. It's my character. And Sid jumped straight into it. So, yeah.
I love that.
When we get there.
Yeah, Sid is tremendous. I've seen him several times at Star Trek conventions. And he reminds me very much of you, where his illumination to what is usually a very dark place, i.e., what happens while things are being made inside of television and feature films. And he absolutely helps to illuminate those dark spots. And I love that.
Right.
Again, as an imbiber of really, really great television series and storytelling, I love it when we're able to find the people that can shed that light and give us really great light bulb moments about stuff that we really do care about. And Sid is tremendous. You're absolutely right. We meet the Palmer kids. More grand casting and instantaneous character development. For those of you that are wondering how to write in, especially what you think might just be kind of accidental sprinkled characters, here it is. This is a grand showcase of how to pepper giant characters with supporting elements with pieces of storytelling. That this is how it should be done. I wish that there was an envelope that I could give to people to say, oh, so you're going to sprinkle in some extra characters and you need to make sure that they're fulfilled. Here's what you do. And this introduction to the Palmer family, in particular the children, it's magical. It was incredibly well written.
Yeah. I always struggled with, I believe the daughter could have been their child, but I wasn't sure about him.
Really? How come?
Yeah, they looked so different, the brother and sister. You know, they just looked different. There wasn't. Oh, but I just assumed we were going to get to that they weren't the real. Well, one of them wasn't the real father. Oh, right. Palmer wasn't the father of one of them, and you know, as we find out, that Penny is quite a operator.
Operator's a good word.
Who knows? Yeah, she definitely had a long-term plan, that lady.
Yeah. The concept of baiting the hook in storytelling. So Palmer sets up a terribly early morning meeting. And again, this is a perfect sample of how to bait the storytelling hook. It is a launch pad. You may as well dump rocket fuel into the storytelling by setting up this meeting in the middle of the morning, middle of the evening.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. He's gone out the back door of his hotel, of his hotel room.
I love all of it. It's because you don't know what's going to happen. Not only that, you know something is coming, but you don't know what. And I think that's probably, if there was a giant boulder that hits you in the face with 24, and I think it probably did it every episode easily through season 4 into season 5, I think. And it is that I know that something is coming. I just have no idea what it is. That is the magic of this show that I don't think I see inside of any other element inside of storytelling anywhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. I would now thinking, as you say it, is like so many little bits have been introduced just with a 3-minute scene. Yeah,
and they make you curious, Joseph. I think it's a bit of the writing, but then it's also the acting, because the gent that plays David Palmer is. He's instantly magnetic. It doesn't matter what he's in either. There are many other different programs that he's been in, but his magnetism, especially as David Palmer, is palpable. And guys, we're not even 2 times 43 minutes into the entire series, and you're already latched on.
Do you think, I'm just thinking about it now, do you think because of the format of the show, because it is real time, you couldn't expand? You couldn't, like, let's just say, introduce the kids and then cut to 10 minutes later when they're sitting around a breakfast table and take it further. Do you know what I mean? Because of the real time aspect, you're only going to be able to throw people breadcrumbs. I've only thought of that right now as you were talking about, you can't expand because we got to move on. But also I can feel, again, we've starting to have those meetings, how we're going to get people from A to B. We need a little bit of filler here, or what are we going to do? Whether that
wasn't that one of the things inside of the whole program? We're like, hey man, we're 7.5 minutes from anywhere we want to be.
Yeah.
That was the value, not only of the program, but the encompassed storytelling that again, it's where I would have loved to have been just a fly on the wall inside of a writer's room for any one of these episodes, because there is a cadence that's inside of the program that you can get as creative as you want, asterisk.
Right.
Because remember, there is a box, but we want to be really, really exciting inside the box. So how do we do that? Yeah. And again, it's where I would have killed to be on the writer's room wall somewhere, just to listen and see how the things get peppered together, or maybe see like a whiteboard of how the things have to tether together. And then you eventually get down to where, okay, and then there's a ticking clock at the end and we're done.
Right.
I love things like that. There's a wonderful, I'll find the video and we'll link it inside the description. And then at the show notes over at 24podcast.com, there's a wonderful progression of one of the Pixar movies. I think it was either the original Toy Story, or maybe the second one. And there's a wall, and it's filled with just drawn storyboards, which I know that Joseph is going to love because he and I are both artists. And on there are just static storyboard elements of what happens, and then somebody running through each of them and how they tether together with the connective tissue. And I adore that kind of stuff. It instantly allows me to see the mind of whomever is being the narrator of who is telling me that. But then it also allows me to understand that inside of each of those panels that we're looking at is an element of storytelling that instantly leads you to the next one naturally. That's the whole thing of storytelling, is that each of the pieces, while when you look at it, if it was just one piece on a wall, it wouldn't mean much of anything. But when you start partnering them together, very much like you guys did with the boxes and the framing and the paneling, it is a magical way to tell stories, especially when you've got the real-time element like what you're talking about. I think that's brilliant. Terry's message to the furniture store owner. It's not quite the message I think I would leave for the furniture store owner in the middle of the night while you're standing inside of his store.
Right.
Again, I know we're looking at a completely different age, but even something as small as my tiny little 17 by 17 podcast studio in the middle of Nowheresville, St. Louis, Missouri, has an alarm system. And so I realized that flunky number one, who opened the door to let the ladies and them in, he probably turned off the alarm. I get that. But again, activity in the middle of the night, you would hope that somebody would either see something or something. You would hope that there is something, but there is nothing of any kind except for the message left for Mr. Neurodiversity. I didn't get the name that was there, but man, what a message that I would not want as the furniture store owner.
No, I just forgot. I'm just looking it up because I thought during this week, I wonder if, because we never changed the name of the store, the Palomino Furniture in Van Nuys. So I was just looking to see if it was still there.
What kind of city was Van Nuys? Was it some, I don't know anything about the area.
It's it's like, it was just a normal city. I mean, it's Van Nuys, just by Sherman Oaks. It was by Van Nuys Airport. They have a little airport there that I then went to learn to fly out of. I lived in Van Nuys for a bit before 24. I lived there.
Oh, wow.
When I first moved to America, I lived in Sherman Oaks. So yeah, so it's
wow.
it's on the way from, let's say, downtown LA, and you're driving to Hidden Hills and Tarzana or Thousand Oaks. So it's on the way there. So yeah, I think it used to be just on the borderline of the 50 miles from the center of Los Angeles. They had rules that you didn't have to pay people travel money if you were in the 50, or extra time if they were in the 50-mile zone, I think. Because a long time ago, when I first started, you'd have people, you'd have to drive 3 hours to work, and then you start getting paid or something. And people would crashing cars in at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving home from work after a 16-hour day or something silly. So yeah, it's within the zone. I remember people always asking, "Is it in the zone?" So yeah, so no, so it's just a regular suburb of Los Angeles.
And have you been back to the States anytime recently, or has it been a while?
It's been 10 years easily.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, my wife goes back to see her family, but she takes my daughter and they go for a month, but I don't. I have no interest really going back.
Sure. And is she from LA area someplace?
Yeah. She grew up in LA.
Okay, great. Great.
What was going to say? Yeah, no, I did 35 years, so I did my time in LA.
Meeting Aaron, one of the best Secret Service agents, and another hook is set.
Yeah.
This is
that's
great.
right.
Aaron dances in and he does his understated shit's hit the fan statements that he is renowned for in the series.
Yeah.
And again, that is another actor that got what I think is just a juicy piece of character building, establishing as not only a vital piece of storytelling inside of this entire series, but also just like he played one of the colloquial agents that we've ever seen inside of, I think, Hollywood.
Yeah. No, he was, he's that one, he's one of those chess pieces that was always there, Yeah.
He's also kind of he's the Secret Service's answer to Tony, where something needs to get done, so you lean over to Aaron, and Aaron then just simply goes and gets shit done. I'm so appreciative of his character, but then also the way that he was written inside the series, where it wasn't a magical fix it, but it was a wonderful bandage to put onto things to get shit done. And I really appreciate Aaron's character.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine when you got that part thinking, you got perhaps a couple of episodes.
And then you're done, right?
It lasted 8 years or so. I don't know if it was in season 8, but
I'm gonna have to go back and look. I know that there are, and again, for those of you that have not ever seen this series, we're gonna try to avoid spoilers like that. And so I'll tell you what, we'll leave the details and the information about that inside of the description here inside of the video, but then also at the show notes over at 24podcast.com. Walsh bestows Jack with the next stair step, a card, a tether to Jamie at CTU. Again, I don't know how to be more clear. The giving of story, and then the taking away of as you speed on to the next segment, is palpable inside of just this second episode. And again, guys, we're only 2 times 43 minutes in. This is not, we're not 4 hours into the storytelling extravaganza of a grand television series. We are just getting in, and you're already running at fever's pitch. It's wonderfully done. Kim's kidnappers now force her to call mom. This was great. And again, what you're getting from this scene in particular is you're getting just a little bit more insight about the kidnappers, who are just idiots. I mean, let's be plain. But what you're also getting is that Kim has stepped in it big.
Yeah.
Like you thought this is just the boyfriend that took your daughter out in the car down to the roller rink for a little while, and then she came home and man, it was terrible. That's not what we're talking about here at all. And I love that the stakes are amped up, not only inside of now there's this even larger grand conspiracy that Jack's got to contemplate and deal with, but then even at the smaller levels, it's all getting ramped up where you can feel the control panel getting just jutted forward. It's a wonderful piece of storytelling here in Calling Mom. And then the little tells here after she gets off the phone with Kim and she starts bantering with York about what she heard. And then you get into the whole element of the whole, she never tells me that she loves me.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that because again, now you're giving a little bit of dance and some storytelling elements about a relationship you guys know nothing about. We know nothing about anything in regard to Kim and Mom, with the exception that there is essentially there's a divorce involved. There's an estranged family. Jack is busy and has all kinds of things that we know nothing about. But the relationship between her and Kim, we didn't really know anything about that until just now. And again, it instantly propels the story forward. I love it.
But also it also gave Kim, I'm Jack Bauer's daughter. I'm realizing what's happening and I'm starting my plan. She's planning, telling her mum that. That's not something that she's already thinking. So it's interesting. It wasn't just like a call for help. She's not just making the phone call. She's thinking about what information can I give through this phone call. Well, that's what I took from it.
Yeah. The other thing is that it also showcases that she's not just going to be the damsel in distress the whole time. There's an element where she's at least trying to do something to help herself. And I appreciate that.
Again, going back to the Janet bit, her arm being broken, it was like, we can't hit you, but we can hear her. And like that, that's the moment where it clicks with her. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And no, not just then. No, it's like, yeah, right. And then when he smacks her arm, now she knows she's in deep shit. Again, they were willing to take the lackeys to another level. I love that in storytelling. They're not just oafs with ski masks on. It's something completely different. I like that. Yeah.
Nina's card is turned over. All right. So it's a giant splash of, oh my God, Nina is the mole.
Right.
Or and again,
this whole thing.
That's the get of this whole program is what I'm seeing. Is that really it? Or oh, no, wait a minute. And then it's time to stop and wait for the next episode next week.
Was that? We don't find out why the card was from her machine on this one. It's the next one. We don't.
Yeah.
No, right. No, because as you're saying earlier, it's that little card ties three. Well, it will help explain her relationship with Jack and all very, very quickly to confirm things.
Yeah.
No.
And again, what with this and everything else continues to propel itself towards is you get this giant, wait a minute, I can't believe what you just said sandwich, and then boop, beep,
right.
Boop, beep, gah. And I know all of us that have taken in anything streaming in the last 10 years, when you get to those episodes, especially really good, juicy ones, when you get to those and you get to the end and then you go, those are the things that I love. And just about every single episode, if it wasn't finished with a grin that has you leaning into the screen, then it has you waiting on the edge of your seat.
Right.
Those are the magic pieces of just about everything that's included inside of not only 24 as a series, but especially the end of this episode of 24, episode 2, our 1 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Yeah, it will always finish like that. But then when you watch the next episode, they were previously on, and you'd show all the exciting bits from the previous thing, and you were already on the edge of your seat before the show even started.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that also brings up the hatred of the pre-preview inside of 24. One of the things I lament, especially inside of YouTube, because they still do it, because it's a piece of what was sage old television. We're now going to show you in a matter of 45 seconds what you're going to see across the next 47 minutes of storytelling inside of the episode. I don't want any of that. More importantly, I don't want the pre-preview.
Right. No,
Yeah,
we did what happened last week. We didn't have a preview,
Right, well,
did we? Did we?
It did eventually.
But not at the beginning.
Because the only thing I hate more are the previously ons. And I get why it's valuable.
Right.
But dude, it was just last week.
It was just what?
It was just last week. It was last week when you were left with it.
Right.
And so because
interesting.
I'm telling you, fast forward. I'm fast forwarding through all of that. Or I'm going to get popcorn, which maybe was the intention. And if that was the intention built into the previously on 24, then
no,
okay,
I think that was because but we were the only show that didn't have an intro title. Everyone else has got a theme tune and a thingy. We didn't. We just straight in. So that 45 seconds of this is what had previously on 24 with the clock was because we didn't have a theme tune. ER has an opening. West Wing had an opening. Lost had an opening. So yeah, rather than see, I prefer to see what happened on last week than watching the same opening titles for 24 episodes, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
I agree. I hate what you're going to see in this episode. Always, I definitely couldn't bear any of that. I hated that on American television. But but I from what I remember, I didn't have that was our opening credits, I guess. Or yeah. No, the opening credits were during the scene. On the opening scene, but we didn't have a 24 theme tune of an opening of a show, I guess. I think that's what took its place. And again, I'm pretty sure it's one of those things where there is a budget and you have enough money to make 43 minutes of television, but standard means that you've got 43 seconds of that is music, so that's free. But because we don't have that, now we've got it. I don't know. I can see it now on some accountant's page that. Yeah. What do you mean you don't have a 43-second opening title? You got to put something in its place. Well, we will. We'll just do more 43 seconds more of an episode. No. I mean, it's complete bullshit. I'm probably making it up, but I could just see that happening.
Yeah. When again, with the trend, especially inside of the land of YouTube, is that there on the front end of the episode, there will be something that's encapsulated inside of the episode you're now going to watch. And I'm like, are you really that starved to know what's going to happen inside the episode when you've already been lured by either the thumbnail or by the title of the episode? But then in addition, we've got to put the little, the pickle with a toothpick on it on top. That is, here's your 17 to 25 second little snippet of what you're going to see. I don't need any of that because I'm literally watching your video. So just
but I think you've got to. I think I understood American I understood American television more when I started. I didn't have a fact, but when, let's say, I was cooking dinner and watching the show. Not 24 because I would be watching, but when I just had the TV on and you could like CSI, whatever. Is this the dead body? Yeah, this is the dead body. Somebody else walks in. Is this the dead body? Yeah, this is the dead body. The dead body we found. Yes, somebody else walks in and they repeat it. And I'm thinking, this is driving me crazy. But when you're cooking and you're only getting bits of it, which most I would think, is your American family, cooking dinner, this is on. You're not meant to sit there and watch in front of the television. It's background story. That's what I thought. And it didn't it didn't click until I can't remember what it was, and I was watching it, and I was because I used to like I think I said before I had TiVo, so I had the East Coast feed and the West Coast feed, so I could watch all whatever CBS show at 6 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock on at 9 o'clock on CBS, whatever I could change. I could watch more than if you only had the West Coast feed. So I watched everything. I mean, I became a TV addict. I wanted to see what the other shows were doing, what locations.
Sure.
I mean, I would.
Sure.
Oh no, CSI were at that location last week. I don't want to shoot there, which was me being a complete arsehole, but because who gives a shit? But but I did get very particular in the look of. I think we just talked about it. If I said, there were no craftsman houses in 24. It had a look, and Pasadena, most TV shows, they go to that, they go to Pasadena. It's the craftsman house with the olive green walls and the nice, anyway. And I was adamant. Directors would arrive and I shot at this location last week, and they showed me pictures, and they'd go, yeah, no, and they're like, what? No, it's not the show. It's not that look. Oh, but I love that house, and we'll find you a nice house with a look, but not that one. So yes. And
how much of that was just you being picky, do you think, now looking back these many years? Or was it just that you knew you could find something better?
Well, telling the director or not shooting craftsman houses, that's me giving the show a look. Not wanting to shoot at a location because another show had shot there, that's me being an arsehole. And no, it was about the look. It was just I wanted to create a look of the show, and I hated craftsman. It wasn't. Yeah, you'll never see a craftsman house on 24. It wasn't the look of the show.
And describe what that is for us, Joseph. What I'm gathering from it is that it's just like run of the mill, nothing ornately.
No, your 1930s Sears catalog. Those houses. They're beautiful houses. They were the first off production line. You would buy them from Sears Roebuck or something. You would buy the house. They'd come. They were called craftsman houses. Yes, but it's all very, very Hollywood television. But no, it's a look. Stickly chairs. That's a craftsman look. It's kind of. I'll send you a picture of a craftsman house.
Yeah.
And then you will understand. If you any road, I can't think of the word now. A house with streets, people living in houses. A normal street in Pasadena has these beautiful craftsman houses. It's very twee, I call it. It's very pretty. It's lovely. Everyone aspires to a craftsman's house. Do you know what I mean? I'm moving to Pasadena and a craftsman house, but it wasn't the look of the show. I think I even told, because we got through a few location managers because of that. I fired somebody, or I replaced somebody once because I was fed up of being shown stuff like that. And also this person kept showing things to the directors, and the directors would go, "Oh, I like that," and then they show it to me, and they go, "The director likes this," and I was like, "Yeah, but he's not in charge of the look of the show, and I am. You show me first. Now I've got to go and talk him out of going to that place." It's something I laid down. I learned. I'm the production designer. If you don't, Rafaela De Laurentiis, I might be going to Romania, do another movie with Rafaela, and she's just told me that the French company wanted a French production designer, but I've worked with her before. Anyway, she says, I told them, I know he's an arsehole sometimes, but he's my arsehole, and if I only have $5 to build a set, he's going to do an amazing job for $4.99, and that's what he does. And I don't think if you aren't in control of certain things, then then yeah, I'm in control of my budget and my look. So yeah, it was something that I'm quite happy to be the bad guy as long as it was for the good of the show. But that
My
was
God,
when
Joseph, you are literally the Jack of production design.
yeah, but to my detriment, that I don't think I would. I don't know. We'll see what happens in Romania. I'm just going to kiss ass and be a good boy, and I perhaps
and get the job done, right?
Perhaps I don't have the fight in me anymore. And it wasn't a fight. It's just I was passionate about what I did and creating a look. That's all it is. I can't help it. That's that autistic side of me that I.
There is an element of there's an element of control that's inside of things like that, but it's control so that you can build what you think is the best product. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, we had this is just our first episode, and Cyrus was a producer then, and we'd have these discussions of like, I would say, I don't think we should do that, but I think we should do this. And they would go, no, we're going to do it this way. Okay, fine. This is in the first production meeting. And as we're getting closer to the shoot, we would be in these meetings and suddenly it would be like, oh, we're going to do it this way. And the AD would turn around and go, you mean what Joseph said we should have been doing 2 weeks ago? And they'd all go, yeah, funny. But then when that AD became a producer and his second became an AD, this is 4 years or 5 years later, the same thing is happening. The first meeting, I'd go, I think we should do it this way. And they would go, no, that's going to be we're going to do it that way. And 2 weeks later, his assistant, or who used to be, he said, what do you mean? You're going to tell us what Joseph said 2 weeks ago is what we're now going to do? Have we not learned anything in 4 years or 5 years? And I know it sounds really big-headed of me. And I understand now, since taking online autistic tests, that I'm on, I don't know what they call it. I'm on the
spectrum. You're on the spectrum.
On the spectrum, because I think we talked, that conversation we were having last week about AI, and I don't think AI could make that leap for the Batmobile, or the bike and whatever. But my autistic side did that, I think, and I'm glad that I don't live in a world where my parents will be told that because I have ADHD, I should be on medication. Joel has ADHD. That's why 24 is as manic as it is. Now imagine putting Joel and on that. Man wouldn't have created what he created if he was on some sort of medication. So again, going back, I may be difficult to work with sometimes, but there is always a genuine, it's not about my ego. I mean, I've worked with production designers and we are building their ego. This was never about my ego. This was about treating my audience with respect and not cheating and giving them something that they had paid to see. It has a look. I don't know. I always felt passionate about it. And got me. It was tough sometimes. We can get into that when we get to season 3 and 4, and you can see the pictures of me then when I looked so depressed I had there's stuff on Wikipedia or whatever. I looked so depressed around season 3 and 4. It got really dark for me on that show, and that'd be interesting episodes. That's a whole.
I love all of that because again, there is a romanticism that at least used to be associated with Hollywood and generating content that is Hollywood based. Oh my God, I'm going to make movies. Oh my God, I'm making television programming. There is a romanticism that I think, I know it's changed drastically in the last decade, but there's still that thing where there's a bubble that was created because you were going to be conjuring something inside of the Hollywood bubble.
Right.
And I think that has completely changed now, mostly because of the people that are being brought in, whether or not they've got the experience or the knowledge or any education to do what it is they're doing. Again, I'm gonna pick on the most recent Star Trek offering. The shock at how many people were writing that program that not only didn't know Star Trek, but had never seen Star Trek.
Yeah, I just can't wrap my head around any of that.
I don't get it. There are no writing credentials on planet Earth that would allow me, as somebody that has a giant box of money, to give money to somebody that has no idea what they're talking about, a pen for the writer's room.
Yeah.
None of that connects for me. I don't understand that. I understand the value of getting somebody outside the box to help provide you with some different layers or
Right.
different texture that is inside of the storytelling of something that is called Star Trek. But that concept of having people that are involved that have not only no idea what you're talking about, but have never imbibed in the property that they're now going to be responsible for generating for an audience. Man, it's a bridge too far. I can't cross it.
Writers, Director's Guide, Star Trek Next Generation, Gene Roddenberry, September the 8th, 1987. This, what writers would have been given from Gene at the beginning of their exposure to Star Trek. And that would have been before the Next Generation even started. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, pictures of the set. They're all everything's explained. And then this was the original. I got one of these. This is the Star Trek Concordance that is pages long. Everything, the third season supplement to Star Trek. So when you, I know that it was in the art department in Star Trek Next Generation. So everybody was aware of the history, what you couldn't do, or what Star Trek was all about. So yeah, they're absolutely completely non-existent, or may have been in the writer's room, but no one could be bothered because it wasn't. I don't know. They didn't read it, but yeah. No,
and again, not to pepper onto the last iteration of, or the most recent iteration of something that was called Star Trek. The context of having to know everything. I'm not requiring anybody to know everything, but I am requiring you to go and tap a series of people that know everything, because they can help guide the story to make sure that the storytelling makes sense, as opposed to something just being completely inserted that has not only no place, but is contradictory to something that's been offered previously. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And especially when you're talking about $10 million inside of an offering, man, that is alien to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's much more than 10 million as well. So yeah, no, look, I'm just picking up. So much for the question. Are there any Star Trek stories left? Star Trek The Next Generation, what has not changed? The same band of brothers feeling. A large part of the success of the original Star Trek series is attributed to the fact that it was not only a star and co-star series, but a family ensemble in which the continuing characters felt great affection for each other, allowing the audience to identify with and share that same feeling of affection. The same action adventure format, blah, blah, blah. Almost the same vessel. Yeah, no, amazing. I'm sure I read this at the time, but I haven't read that in years. That's really weird. But written by Gene.
Yeah. Going back to all of the Star Trek technical manual is still some of the best ever generated fan content. I'm sorry, real content that fans can imbibe in. The Star Trek encyclopedia is also another one of my favorites. Another guy, I know you'll know his name, Mike and Denise Okuda, right? Have you met the Okudas?
They're my friends. Yeah, see, because Mike and Denise wrote all this stuff. Yeah, all of these. Yeah, Mike and I speak every now and then. We're still very good friends. Yeah, they were my family. They were my first family in LA. They were
Yeah,
um
they are tremendous people. They literally changed the look of what we were given in regard to Star Trek, and allowed so many different senses of purpose and creativity to be sparked.
right.
That's what I require from what I'm watching on television and feature films and streaming media. And so when I don't get it, that's when you and I conjure something very special, like what we've conjured here inside of the 24 podcast. Joseph, it's time to get to the rating for this episode 2 of season 1 of 24 hours, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. The scale works thusly. A 10 is on top of the heap, a wonderful offering from 24 that shan't be forgotten. A 1 is not so awesome. I don't know that we're not going to see any of that for a good long while. I don't think it's out of this series.
Yeah.
Everything starts at a 7 as an average. The numbers go up with positives. The numbers go down with negatives. And Joseph, there are no halvesies. Joseph,
Right.
what do you rate this episode?
Well, it's my first episode. So I've got to say a 10.
An 11. This is an 11.
Yeah, no, and that's why that's one of those things I was thinking this week, is that although last week that pilot, I said I watched the pilot and fast forwarded it to see if there was any more. Obviously, the pilot that I saw didn't have the opening of the Kuala Lumpur and all of that, or the Washington gathering, because I did all that. So they were additions to the original pilot. Yeah, it dawned on me during the week. I was like, I saw the pilot, but so the pilot I saw when I first started clearly didn't have the airplane or none of the effects. It must have been a real rough cut. I'm just interested. I'm now thinking, I wonder if one of the VHS tapes I've got upstairs somewhere is still that original pilot they gave me. I'm pretty sure I'm that kind of a hoarder that I may still have that somewhere.
That's very interesting. I wonder how many different versions of stuff there are. Like, again, this is a little tell for everybody that's listening. Joseph and I are eventually going to get to Blade Runner. And for those that don't know, the Blade Runner has, I think, are there 4 or 5 different editions of that film that's been released?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I wonder if there are different versions. That's actually a really great call to the audience, which we haven't had inside this episode yet. Guys, if you know if there's a different offering for 24, especially in regard to a special edition DVD set or a Blu-ray set that we're unfamiliar with, make sure you let us know. You can do that here in the comments where we are inside the video presentation, or you can also do that over at 24podcast.com. Click on the contact button, fill out the quick web form, and tell us what you know in regard to there being different editions or versions of 24 being available. Joseph, I'm not going to let you dance. You have to tell me what your rating is on this episode, friend.
Oh, I said 10. Yeah, it's 10. It's
10.
Be a 10.
Okay.
Yeah. 10,
Okay. Well,
10.
because you gave it a 10, I have to give it an 11. No, I'm not going to give it an 11. I enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed the hell out of this episode. In fact, the last 15 minutes of this are probably some of my favorite 24. If I had to give somebody 24 in a sandwich, I think the last portion of this episode, I think, is a really good imbibing. So I too am going to give this episode a 10.
But
That's
it must
where
be,
you asked
again,
the guys,
it was a relief. I would have thought that anybody watching the show and watch the pilot, then watch the first episode, because sometimes they overspend on pilots. This one certainly wasn't overspent. They didn't spend money, or they never built any sets or whatever. So to then watch the first episode after the pilot and to be relieved that, oh, this is the show that I watched last week. Do you know what I mean? It was a relief. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well,
it's what it is. The word you're looking for, I think, is satisfaction.
Yeah, because there's that joke where someone goes to heaven, and heaven is pretty shitty. It doesn't look like the heaven that and Jesus or God says to the person, you must have seen the pilot. Something like that. The joke goes like that. I don't know, but yes, you must have seen. Yeah. But this episode is glossier. It feels it's glossier than the pilot, and again with the addition of the I guess that's what it needed. Or they just didn't shoot the Kuala Lumpur stuff in. It couldn't have been written. They must have been a need. Somebody must have said we need to start this somewhere, and anyway, they did whatever they did. The addition was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Again, that little add-on instantly helps paint that it's a larger portrait than you just running what's going to be essentially 25 minutes from every single same location across the span of an entire season of television. The other thing, pilots are now, I think, kind of a rarity, aren't they?
I don't know.
A program is now going to get greenlit for what is usually a couple of seasons, because what they're looking for is some sort of return on investment in regard to the television program. Again, the sad offering I'll give you here is the most recent iteration of Star Trek, which unfortunately has an entire another season that was instantly greenlit when the television show got its legs to begin with.
Yeah, but even though something may be greenlit, it may not be shot. Do you know what I mean?
We can hope.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a show called Studio 5B when I first got to America, and they were on episode 5, and I know one of the actors because I was an extra, and one of the actors had just bought a car. It was morning of the 5th episode. Show got cancelled. They aired it on the Sunday night, and Monday morning everyone had lost their jobs, and they all thought they had 20 odd episodes. And but I know that, that was always John and I always talked about it, that Hollywood would do this stuff. They would make 10 pilots, 1 or 2 would get picked up. It was pilot season until I worked out that Warner Brothers and Paramount made their money from making the pilots. They weren't putting the money. They would, because we used to think, why don't you put all that money into 3 or 4 pilots rather than all of this? And no, but that wasn't the way they worked. They made their money from making as many pilots as possible, and hopefully one of them gets picked up. Whether it got picked up or not, it wasn't, because you see, they shoot at Warner Brothers, but it's an NBC show or a CBS show, or it's just one production company. I don't know. So yes, but I don't know. I haven't. The last time I did a pilot was it Terra Nova or Dominion was the last TV show I did, I guess. But yeah, but again, they were Terra Nova. No, we had 12 episodes. We didn't shoot a pilot, and then this 12 episodes. So I think we were picked up. I think the show was, but it was a Spielberg thing. So they would have said, if you're going to build all of this, we got to do at least 12 episodes. So, but so I don't know how it works now in LA. I'm pretty sure now there's somebody somewhere going, well, we got this room and we're doing this half-hour sitcom, and it's all going to be AI, and they'll approve it, and then they'll put real actors in or something. It's a business. So they'll I don't know.
Well, and I think you have probably gotten whispers, if not outright statements, that Hollywood is evolving very, very quickly into something it was not previously. And so again, I think you're going to see the way that everything works is that everything evolves. And remember, if you don't evolve, you're very quickly going to get caught up underneath the wheels of the evolution. And I think we're going to see a lot of that from a lot of people inside of Hollywood, especially as we get to where there's literally just a generation dying off inside of Hollywood. I think we're going to see some very significant changes in the next decade of Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I just spoke to Rafaela De Laurentiis, but we're going to go and do this movie Medusa that we've been trying to do for 10 years. And looks like we may be doing it. But and I said to her, look, because she's 78 8 now. Anyway, I
Wow.
said this will probably might be my last movie, and she said, "Yeah, mine too." So let's just go and have some fun, and so we're going to go and hopefully do some.
You'll have to keep us posted on that, because again, I think the insight, if nothing else, just scribble some notes, and that's something else that we'll do in what I think would be just genius, which is a perspective review of that movie, where when that movie comes out, we'll wait a couple of years, then we'll come back to it, let you look at that cone, because what I love about that, it's when I get involved with projects now, I know that I am not the same person I was, say, 25 years ago when I was doing the original 24 podcast. And so being able to look at what we're doing with not only this program, but then everything I'm doing inside of my podcast network, it's a different flavor of ice cream completely than it was back then. And I know that every time I come back to things like that, I always get some really rich satisfaction out of being able to see what I would have done previously and can see what I did previously versus what I have just recently done. I get a lot of value out of that. All right. Well, that's great. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the 24 podcast. Again, this is where we ask you guys, what did you think of this episode, the second episode of season 1 of 24? Leave all of your details down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, but most importantly, go check out the detailed show notes over at 24podcast.com. And we can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, when we're going through the worst days of Jack Bauer's life, I'm Mike Wilkerson, one of your hosts.
I'm Joseph Hodges. Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time.